But the challenge that I have is that the digital marketing is such a technically focused field. And so I've got all these core skills and these kind of bigger 10,000 foot view skill sets, but I really had to bridge the gap between what I have and what I bring to the table and then what the client actually needs. Yeah, hi. So my name is Ben Yarbrough. I am the founder and CEO of BDYC. It's a digital marketing company, a consulting company, and a SaaS company. I've been in the U.S. Navy for the past 15 years, and my formal training was in bomb disposal, so explosive ordnance disposal, how to dive, how to jump out of planes, how to shoot guns, and how to disarm explosives, whether they're in whether they're on land or underwater. I got my start in digital marketing in grad school. So I was working on my PhD in communication at Liberty University, and I had this major course project where I had to look at an organization and diagnose all their internal and external communication challenges, and then document it and then share it with my professor. It was a semester-long project, and in the process, I reached out to a friend and mentor of mine who gave me an inside look at the nonprofit that he was working for. It's an international company. American international nonprofit company, and what they do is they provide assistance all around the world after explosive events have occurred. And so what I did was I took a look at that company and I made some suggestions, and about a year later I was hired to do it. So in the process, I had to start a company. So as I've been scaling, one of the biggest challenges I've faced is really just like the technical expertise gap. So I've got a PhD in communication, I've got a master's in communication, I've got a bachelor's degree in liberal arts, and I've got all this academic experience, and I got a lot of management and leadership experience in my day job, working with leaders at different levels of an organization. And so I've seen a lot of problems, internal and external, in communication. But the challenge that I have is that the digital marketing is such a technically focused field. And so I've got all these core skills and these kind of bigger 10,000 foot view skill sets, but I really had to bridge the gap between what I have and what I bring to the table and then what the client actually needs. And so in order to overcome that in the process of scaling, what I had to do was I had to reach out and build team, essentially. And I would say, like any good organization, you're only as strong as your team. And despite all my skill and my background and my academic credentials, if I couldn't deliver what a client needed on a technical level, then it didn't really matter. The rest of it was irrelevant. So the way I overcame that was I started outsourcing and offshoring help. So one of the first things I did was I reached out and I started researching online, how to get graphic design done, how to get websites done, how to do these different tasks. And in the process, I came across a whole bunch of companies, including Don't Do It Yourself, which really kind of guided me and helped me understand kind of some of the ins and outs of what this looks like to build a digital marketing agency from the ground up using these different, using remote work. And essentially what I did was I learned that not all these companies are the same. They're not equal, and that it can be a real challenge to go through. And sometimes the learning curve is kind of steep. And so for me, that was the biggest challenge, was really like onboarding good talent, making good partnerships, and establishing a steady process and workflow. So SaaS is a huge thing for me. The first one I'll call out is Go High Level, or High Level, I think as it's now being referred to. It is an amazing tool. It's something that I absolutely love. And what that is, it's digital marketing management software. And what High Level does is it allows me to onboard clients, manage clients, conduct email, text marketing, reputation management. It allows me to integrate Stripe for billing. And then it allows me to bring clients into that system, build websites in that system, and manage every aspect of their marketing. It's a full CRM suite, and it's got a lot of power, and it's really well priced. It's a top tier service. Cannot recommend it enough to any agency out there, especially if you don't currently have an agency management piece of software. Great tool. Another thing that I'm really passionate about, really excited about, is QuickBooks. So that's a fun one for me because it does all the accounting. This business is entirely ran by me, and so one of the challenges I had early on was dealing with the financials, making sure I kept everything legal and above board, and making sure that it was all on top of things. So for me, QuickBooks is huge. Something else that I like to use is Dropbox. So Dropbox allows me to store all my files, keep them synced, and keep them safe. And that's a really big deal for me because I deal with many gigabytes of very important client files, and then I also need to access them. I need to access them on my phone. I need to access them on my computer, my work, and I need to access them on my laptop when I'm traveling. And so it's really important to me to have access to all the data and all those things at the same time. Something else I give a shout out to is Kinsta as far as web hosting goes. I'm a huge fan of Kinsta. They are a WordPress host, and they are a top tier WordPress host. Absolutely love them. Amazing technical support, great team, easy to work with, and really a phenomenal experience to work with them. I've worked with Bluehost and some other lower cost options. But I would say Kinsta is by far probably one of my favorites. And then the final tool that I'm going to mention is going to be Jasper. So Jasper is a copywriting service. It's artificial intelligence. It's built on the GPT-3 model. And what that does is it allows you basically to feed it some input, and it will give you some long form output. And while I am in no way saying that this is the be all end all of content writing or any other form of marketing, written communication, it's a great place to start. And for me, one of the things that really helps me is to have essentially a rough draft to work on. I can write copy all day, but at this point, my voice is very clear and very distinct. And so instead of having a team of writers, although I do use something I'll talk about later, I can use Jasper to give me kind of a rough draft to get started that's in a different voice than necessarily what I would use that matches the client voice. And then I can build that out for some really good content marketing. So as far as talent goes, the number one thing that I'm looking for is an ability to learn. So there's a lot of folks all over the world that don't have the same resources, that don't have the same educational background, that don't have the same ability. Even when it comes to technology, they won't have the same level of computer technology or internet access. And for those folks, it can be kind of limiting not having some of those things. But what I've discovered is that if you can find somebody that's willing to grow and willing to learn and willing to grow and work with your company, that you can kind of build something together. One of the challenges with working with the variety of different outsourced media design and development companies is that you never really know who's necessarily doing your work, depending on which company you're working with. And so quality assurance can be kind of a challenge, and then making sure that it's good day in and day out can be kind of a tedious process. And so one of the things that I've done is I've just been more open to working directly with freelancers when that makes sense, and establishing and keeping longer term relationships. So for example, Kimp, a service company, they do the graphic design and website design for my company. I'm absolutely in love with everything they do. They are wonderful. I would say by far my favorite company to work with. Phenomenal design at all times. But before I really settled on Kimp, I tried 5 or 6 other of these unlimited graphic design services, and they really just didn't measure up. Kimp for me is the be-all and end-all of graphic design. I'm incredibly happy with them, and they're amazing. And it was challenging to find them. So what I would recommend anybody do if you're trying to get started is really just kind of bounce around, take a look at a couple different services, and see what best fits your workflow. So yeah. So yeah, I'm on the internet. I'm not terribly hard to find. BDYC.io, BDYCsystems.com is the software arm of what I do, and then I'm on LinkedIn, BDYC.io. You can just search for Benjamin Yarbrough.